So one of the more common questions that I get and that I see come up among the Diablo 4 necromancer type community is which style is better between bone and blood, comparing the two, the advantages and the disadvantages and all of that. There is like the minion style and there is the shadow style, there's the damage over time style. There is more options out there in terms of getting after clearing content with the necromancer. I feel like the most popular ones in like a speed farming pushing context right now are probably bone and blood, so I wanted to focus on those here in this video and give you my thoughts, because I did play both of them as my main build. My main class so far in season 1 has been the necromancer, so I have kind of tried out both styles decently extensively, and I want to give you my thoughts and my opinion on the advantages and disadvantages of each. Okay, so first of all, you can see each build or each version on the respective side of the screen. Just like the thumbnail, we've got bone on the left and then blood on the right in terms of playstyle. Now, when it comes to the playstyle, they're going to be decently similar. Obviously not perfect. There are some subtle differences, but both of them are going to involve utilizing the blood mist and kind of moving around, getting into position, and then chucking a projectile, whether that's a bone spear or a blood lance. Now, the advantages of the bone version is going to be that it's super consistent. It's probably a little bit easier to play, and it's going to be really great at nuking down bosses. It can do both really good in an AoE setting or a single target boss nuking setting. And the reason I say that it is maybe easier to play is because you just kind of wait until you have close to max essence, and then you chuck a couple bone spears. You wait until you're close to max essence, you chuck a couple bone spears. You're walking into a room, you blast it AoE, it's a straight shot, and you just kind of nuke on your way through it, and then you have bone shards that fragment and kind of return back to you and deal a bunch of AoE damage. Then for some of the advantages of the blood necromancer, it's going to be one of the highest attack speed builds in the game. Insane attack speed that you can stack up, generate essence super fast, crank out those blood lances super fast. So that is a very fun part of the build. It's also going to have a little bit more toughness, so you're going to be able to get things like your blood mist off of cooldown more often. You're going to be able to almost perma mist and have the utility of breaking CC and moving around while immune a lot more often than the bone version. And then you're also going to be able to use fortify a lot more realistically. You're going to be a little bit more tanky on the blood version of the build, and you are going to do insane AoE damage. As long as there's a lot of stuff on the screen, you are going to be able to obliterate it. And something cool about the blood build is you get to utilize a mechanic that isn't utilized super often so far in Diablo 4, and that is going to be the overpower mechanic for stacking up your damage, which means you don't really have to worry about the normal things that we see being meta as the vulnerable and the crit damage scaling, which means you don't really have to worry about some of the normal meta type stuff as far as dealing damage. You don't have to worry about things like vulnerable and crit damage, because that's not going to be what you're stacking on powering things down in this build. So that's the advantages of each, then the disadvantages of each. I would say for bone, you're going to have a little bit less toughness. The bone necro can be a little bit squishy, can be a little bit of a glass cannon. It's not super awful. I would say the toughness is average. It's not great and it's not trash, but it's not going to be quite as tanky as the blood version, because you can't utilize the blood orbs and the fortify nearly as well as you can in the blood version of the build. And then also you can encounter a little bit of essence management issues. Your attack speed is going to be a little bit lower on the bone version, so you may not be able to generate essence back quite as often. It's why a lot of people really love the exposed flesh aspect on this build, because it's going to help you turn lucky hits into essence, and those mechanics can be very strong on the bone spear version. Plus, your damage can be really low if you're not managing your essence properly. If you're casting bone spears when your essence is down below half, you're not going to be nuking or seeing near as big of numbers. So you do really want to pay attention to essence management on the bone version of the necromancer, because you will start to lose a ton of damage and a ton of the flow within your clear if you're not doing so. Then for the disadvantages of the blood necromancer, I think it's going to be definitively worse versus like single target boss type fights than bone. Like, I don't know, it's not necessarily terrible versus bosses. It's just like a little bit annoying. It's not going to be like the bone necro where you just kind of position, chuck a bone spear, and then enjoy the nuking. You're going to have to kind of manage a little bit more when you're doing boss fights on the blood version, and it's probably going to be a little bit slower of a clear. Also, if they're, that means that in a low density environment, blood is probably going to fall a little bit behind the bone version, and it's going to require a little bit more micro management with your positioning and kind of picking up blood orbs and keeping fortify up. And there might be a little bit more to focus on if you're trying to play super lazy on the blood version. And I would probably say that the Blood Necro has a little bit of a higher barrier to entry. Now, the build can do great, just kind of like thrown together randomly, and you'll be able to kill stuff 10, 15 levels above you pretty easily on the Blood Necro, so it's definitely fine. But there are a lot of aspects and moving parts and rolls to get on your gear and managing the overpower mechanic that a lot of people aren't familiar with. So I would say the barrier to entry is slightly higher on the Blood Necro. And then also, I do have dedicated builds and breakdowns of both these styles, and also dedicated videos based on which one you choose if you want to see kind of the World Tier 4 get up and rolling version of each. And then I do need to work on as well getting like the level 100 fully cracked out, maxed out version of each, so that I have both ready and available for you. Right here you've got the World Tier 4 Bone Necro, like level 70 to 80, where I break down some of the gear, stuff to look out for, and then the notes on the playstyle and all of that for you to at least get up and running and get speed farming on the Bone Necro. And then I did the same thing for the Blood Necro, where I had it showing, if I back up here, right there, yeah. So I've got the Blood Necro here, level 75 to 90, kind of get up and running on blood, and the same thing here for bone. And then I need to get to testing shadow and minions and all of that. So definitely going to be a lot more builds and guides and stuff coming your way very soon. Which means, in conclusion, I would probably say for a beginner to the necromancer, maybe start with the bone style, and that will help you learn the essence management and just be a little bit more consistent with a lower barrier to entry while you're utilizing some of the normal statistics that you're used to. Crit rate, crit damage, vulnerable, stuff like that. It will be a little bit more familiar to you. But the Blood Necromancer is a great one to try out. It can be maybe a little bit better for pushing or doing tougher content. And once you learn the mechanics of the Necromancer by playing the bone style, then maybe consider some of these other styles like the Blood Necro or the Shadow Necro. I definitely want to do a video here on the Shadow damage over time Necromancer as well. So that would be kind of where I settle in. Like, if you're trying to learn Necromancer and just be super consistent, go with bone. If you're trying to like have fun and try something a little bit more advanced and put together something for pushing, maybe consider the Blood Necromancer. So that is my thoughts on bone versus blood after playing the two play styles here on the Necromancer. Lots more builds and content coming your way here in Season 1. So I will see you soon in the next video. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.